Patry na.
Ox na.
So good afternoon, everyone, and my name is Allen Irwin, and I'm from Group 5, and we're going to discuss the electric multiple unit. So next slide, please. So, and- so we will talk about the introduction to the EMUs or the electric multiple units and its advantages and disadvantages, and yung brief history at saka yung types ng mga EMUs at mga examples nito. So next slide po. So what is a multiple unit? So a multiple unit train is a self-propelled train made up of one or more railroad units connected together. So ang kaibahan ng isang multiple unit sa isang locomotive lang is, kumbaga, the multiple unit is works as a one locomotive. So most MUs or multiple units are driven by traction motors that get power from a third rail or overhead wire, or minsan fourth rail pa nga, or by a diesel engine that drives a generator that produces energy to power traction motors. So next slide, please. So the question is, what is an electric multiple unit? Next slide po. So an EMU or an electric multiple unit is a multiple unit train made up of self-powered carriages that are propelled by electricity. Ang EMU ay isang klase ng multiple unit train na nangangailangan ng kuryente upang mapagana ito. An EMU does not require a separate locomotive. Like sabi ko nga kanina, an EMU or a multiple unit train works as a one locomotive, unlike the other types of like diesel electric locomotive trains. Yan nga, an EMU does not require a separate locomotive because electric traction motors are built into one or more of the carriages. Next po. Yan. So EMUs are often made up of two or more semi-permanently connected carriages or rail cars. Sometimes ang EMU can be coupled together, or sometimes kumbaga iisa na lang talaga siya. Kumbaga it is permanently connected. However, electrically powered single unit rail cars are also classified as EMUs. Ang halimbawa ng mga kinokouple na EMUs ay yung katulad sa LRT1, yung mga first generation trains nila. And also yung mga semi-connected naman is yung katulad sa LRT2 and sa MRT3 na mga Dalian trains natin. And to further understand about the EMUs and its difference to DMUs and other trains, we're going to watch a video. So next slide.
Multiple unit train sets are the preferred commuter and long-distance trains, and a variety of designs exist across the world. Traction power in these trains could be diesel or electric power supplied through overhead catenaries or through a third, and as in London, even a fourth rail. Unlike locomotive haul trains, where traction power is localized in a locomotive that hauls several trailer cars, a multiple unit train has no separate locomotive, but rather the entire train set functions as a locomotive. I will make this clear in a moment. In a multiple unit train set, traction power is transferred to traction motors that are distributed across several cars in the train set. While this makes a separate locomotive redundant, it also allows quicker acceleration. It also results in a faster turnaround times at terminal stations, as the time taken to reverse a locomotive is eliminated. Apart from the differences, transfer of traction power to the wheels in a multiple unit train set is similar to that of a locomotive. Power collected from the pantograph is transferred to a traction transformer, which sets the desired voltage. Power at the desired voltage is then passed through main and auxiliary traction converters. The traction converters convert the power to the type required by the traction motors, such as from AC to DC or single phase to three phase. The main traction converter transmits power to the traction motors, and the auxiliary converter transfers power for hotel equipment such as lighting, fans, and air conditioning inside the cars. In a diesel-electric multiple unit, power is provided by a diesel engine, which is converted to electric power by alternators. From here on, traction is as in an electric multiple unit. Trains are heavy vehicles and require long distances to come to a halt. Therefore, to maintain safe stopping distances between trains, signaling systems are required. At the very basic of signaling, the railway route is divided into a series of blocks. An electrical circuit running as a relay between the blocks informs the block ahead about the presence of a train. When a train enters a block, contact of the wheels with the track circuit causes a short circuit. This break in current indicates that a train has entered the block and the signal is turned on. No other train can enter the block now. When the train exits the block, a second short circuit indicates that the block is now empty and safe for the next train. A series of blocks manage train traffic on the route. These could be manual or automated. As the train enters the first block, the signal is turned on. The block is now closed for other trains. As the train exits the first block, the signal aspect changes to caution, indicating that the next train can enter the block, but it must proceed with caution at slow speed and be prepared to stop. When the train exits the second block, the aspect at the first signal turns green to allow entry of the following train at maximum permitted speed. In denser traffic, the number of signal aspects may be increased. Modern railway systems use automated traffic signaling. Sensors placed along the track, usually 300 to 400 meters apart, communicate with sensors and the train cars. The automatic train signaling system uses ground sensors placed some distance before the signal. If a train passes a sensor when the signal aspect is stop, an alarm is sent immediately to the driver, regardless of the train speed. If the driver does not stop within 5 seconds after the alarm is received, emergency brakes are applied to automatically stop the train. Emergency brakes are not applied if the driver acknowledges the alarm and applies the brakes himself. Here is signaling in real time. As the train enters the block, the signal aspect is turned on, indicating that no other train can now enter this block. When the train moves out of the block, the signal aspect turns to green, indicating that the next train can now safely enter the block.
Pa-post na po nung video, then next slide na po. Kasi more on signaling na po yan eh. Thank you.
Advantages and disadvantages. Next slide po. The full length of the train can be used as passenger space. Distributed traction allows a greater number of powered wheel sets, so there are fewer wheel slip problems and the unit trains can accelerate better. So ang EMU po ay mas efficient po sila sa paggamit nila ng space nila. At yung buong, kahit limited po yung kanilang length at fixed, yung buong space naman po nila nagagamit na passenger space. Di po katulad ng lumang mga tren na mayroong cars na pangpatakbo lang po nung train na na-occupy. Next slide po. Higher acceleration since there are more motors sharing the same load. More motors allow for a higher total motor power output. A higher degree of redundancy performance is only minimally affected following the failure of a single motor or brake. So yung buong train po pinaghahatian po ng mga multiple motors para nagresulta ito ng higher acceleration para pong sa kotse mga 4x4 po at yung rear at saka front wheel lang yung sidebar po, rear at front wheel lang ang natakbo. At dahil nga marami siyang motors, redundant yung kanyang performance. At pag nasira yung isa, hindi na apektuhan masyado yung iba pa. Next slide po. Braking, including eddy current, rheostatic, and/or regenerative braking on multiple axles at once, greatly reducing wear on brake parts, as the wear can be distributed among more brakes and allowing for faster braking, lower/reduced braking distances. So hindi lang sa acceleration naapektuhan ito ng multiple motors. At sa brake din, yung burden ng braking ay nahahati sa multiple motors ng tren. At hindi masyadong nasisira at less maintenance ang nangyayari. Next slide po. Pollution-free operation. The KTM commuter trains use electrification to move the weight of the trains and save up to 100% of air pollution and noise pollution rather than the DMU that operate using diesel that will harm the environmental surrounding. The EMU trains able to operate until at night without disturbing the neighborhood and the resident along the railway lines. They are preferred quieter than the DMUs and locomotive drawn trains. So lahat po ng electric ngayon ay po mas dahil po electrified na po, hindi na po siya ganun kaingay at wala na pong smoke na ina-emit. At mas preferred po to ng mga residency na nasa katabi ng train dahil wala pong masyadong disturbance na nangyayari. Next slide po. So lahat po ng bagay ay meron pong disadvantage. So loss of operational flexibility, as trains must be multiples of 2 cars. And a failure on a single car could force removing both it and its partner from service. So pag nasira po yung tren, hindi man siya ganun often na nagyayari. Pero pag nangyari po ito, yung hindi lang po isang car ang na out of order, kasama po yung kanyang partner. Number 2, maintenance is difficult since there are more parts to be maintained, which are located in areas which are difficult to access. So iba po yung kanyang pagkakabuo at iba po nun, yung meron po siyang mga parts na magkakakabit po na hindi masyadong na-access. Number 3, multiple units are usually fixed length sets and less flexible in adjusting their length. As mentioned in the other answer, if one car is defective, that puts the whole train out of order. So, advantage po niya kanina yung kanyang use of passenger space. Pero po, less flexible po ito at fixed na po yung length ng train na ito dahil po maapektuhan po niya yung ibang cars na ng sa buong train. Next slide po. At yun na po pala yung advantage at disadvantage ng EMUs. Thank you po.
So brief history of multiple electric unit or electric multiple unit. So yung pinakaunang recorded na electric multiple unit ay mula sa Liverpool, which is in Britain. It is the elevated Liverpool Overhead Railway, so overhead catenary ginagamit nila noong 1893. So underground siya, which is also a first underground EMU siya. Tapos yung The southern terminal of the railway was underground, giving the LOR the distinction of being the first to use EMUs nga. So each carriage has its own electric traction. Patuloy nga nung in-explain kanina ni Allen na yun yung pagkakaiba ng EMU sa ibang mga klase ng trains. Dahil kada carriage nga ay meron siyang sariling electric traction motor. So yung unang design ng Liverpool Overhead Railway ay 2 carriages lang. Tapos in-upgrade nila, ginawa nilang 3. So sa picture na ito, hindi na siya working panigurado kasi 1893 pa siya. So ito nasa picture ay mula sa Liverpool Museum kung saan nirefurbish at ginawa na lang attraction sa mga tao. So 1950s naman reinvention of EMU design from DC to AC engines. So EMUs were first used because of their low maintenance cost and electric coupling. So in-explain kanina ni Victor na ang daming ang advantages ni EMU tulad nga nung hindi na sila magkakahiwalay ng carriage, tas mas malaki yung passenger space nila. I mean, di ba kasi mga EMU ng ibang, makipapakita mamaya ni Angelo, yung mga examples ng EMU na pwede kang go from carriage to carriage kasi meron doorway na. Unlike kasi pagka diesel locomotives, yung pinakaunang train for engine purposes lang, tas yung susunod na mga carriages, hindi na sila minsan interconnected, depende sa design pa ng mismong train. So impressive yung EMU nung mga panahon na to, lalo na ng 1890s dahil doon ng mga panahon na yun, usong-uso pa si steam locomotive. Pero pagdating ng 1950s, nagkaroon ng difference sa AC sa engine type niya. So tinry nilang baguhin yung style ng engine from DC to AC. So early EMUs were DC or direct current, but since the late 1950s, AC alternating current engines have been used. Most third rail systems are still low voltage DC systems. So bakit nga ba nagkakaroon ng difference pagdating sa AC versus DC motors? So DC motors were originally preferred form of motor for railway applications and most systems used it. The limits of the technology at the time favored the DC motor. It provided the right torque characteristic for railway operation and was reasonably simple to control. Ang isa ding advantage ng DC motor compared sa AC motor ay mas malakas yung hatak niya pagkaunang pagbukas pa lang ng makina compared kay AC na dahil alternating current, tas may frequency pa. Hindi directly pumapasok yung yung pinaka-electricity na tuloy-tuloy unlike yun nga sa DC, unlike kay AC. So yun yung advantage ng DC. Pero nagustuhan nila AC because it's simpler to construct, can be controlled effectively, regenerates efficiently, robust, and easier to maintain. So ang maganda sa AC motors, dahil nga alternating current siya in frequency, nagkakaroon ng possibility for regenerative braking. So double-decker trailer cars. So the first double-decker electric motor cars, Tulloch Limited, for use was in Sydney, Australia in 1964. Mahalagang part to ng pagkakaroon ng EMU mga double-decker trailer dahil mas maraming tao ang nakakasakay sa EMU, which means yung katulad nga nung na-discuss ni Sir Al sa isang lesson niya na yung cost ng electricity ay fully na nagiging efficient kung nagagamit ng maayos. Kasi mas maraming passengers ang sumasakay, tapos mas nagagamit yung power. So why double-deck EMU? So it is more energy efficient, avoids infrastructure costs, suitable for intercity or long-distance travels, and low maintenance cost. More energy efficient yung nasabi ko kanina, yung sa electricity na ginagamit, mas naging more energy efficient dahil mas bawas yung, unlike kasi pagka isang deck lang, may mga tao na mas onti yung tao compared sa double deck na mas malaki nga yung hatak ay mas malaki yung energy input, pero nagagamit yung energy input na yun dahil mas marami yung gumagamit. So, ayan, suitable for intercity or long distance travels. Dahil maraming ang taong sumasakay, mas bagay talaga sa mga double deck ang malayo ang distance para pagka compare mo sa mga provincial buses, mga ganun. Disadvantages is increased dwell time or waiting time. So dahil madaming ang pasahero, mas madaming oras na mag-suspend yung train sa mismong platform para magpasakay at magpababa. Not suitable for low loading gauges dahil double deck din siya. Ang design niya ay mas mataas compared sa normal na trains. Pero may mga bagong design na ginagawa mas malapit sa tracks yung car body compared sa dati. So ano siya, favorable siya para sa mga low, lalo na sa may mga tunnels. Yeah, this car body design. Explain. So first prototype double-deck motor car was incoming 1969, and it is the first fully double-deck EMU. So ito prototype pa lang siya, tapos nilabas siya for service in 1972. Yun lamang po.
So good afternoon po. Naririnig po ba ako? Thank you po. So ayun, I am Maria Denise Liwanag and I will report about the different types of electric units. So yung una munang pag-uusapan natin is yung according to functions, which is divided siya into 4, which yung una po is power car, second is motor car, pangatlo is driving car, and pang-apat is trailer cars. Next slide po. Una po is power car. Nandito po nakakabit yung mga transformer ng train, pati na rin po yung pantograph or yung pickup shoes. Gaya po ng mga nasabi ng past reporters, ang pantograph po is used to draw power from overhead catenary lines, while yung pickup shoes naman po ay for third rail. Next po is motor cars. Nandito naman po located yung traction motors na nagpapaandar sa train. Usually po yung power car at motor car ay madalas pinagsasama na to avoid high voltage intercar connections. Third po is the driving cars. So from the word itself na po, dito po makikita yung driver's cab for controlling the train. For electric multiple units, meron po silang 2 driving cars and usually located at its outer ends. Last po is the trailer car. Ito naman po yung cars na nagdadala ng less or non-power related equipment. Kung ikukumpara po siya sa locomotive, siya po yung passenger car. Next slide po. Yan. Next naman po ay types ng EMU according sa design. Number 1 po is high-speed trains. Second is mainline EMU. And number 3 is battery EMU. Next slide po. So sa high-speed trains, familiar naman po tayo sa high-speed trains. Ito po yung mga trains na dinesign to run a speed of more than 250 kilometers per hour. Ito po yung pinaka-common na type ng EMU. Tapos, yung high-speed trains po ay have 2 power cars, one at either end, and most receive power from roof-mounted pantographs and overhead supply lines. The example po ng high-speed trains are Italian Pendolino, Shinkansen in Japan, the China Railway High-Speed in China, ICE3 in Germany, and the British Rail Class 395 Javelin. Next slide po. So yung second type naman po is yung mainline EMU. On Indian railways, the MEMUs are electric multiple unit trains that serve short and medium distance routes in India. These trains do do the job of connecting one major city to another, but mostly within range of 100 to 200 kilometers. Next po. So yung last po is yung battery electric multiple units. Just like the past reporter said po, ito po yung type ng EMU na powered by rechargeable batteries. Many are bimodal, taking energy from onboard battery banks and line pickups. In most cases, the batteries are charged via the electric pickup when operating on electric mode. Yun lamang po. Gets po ba yung types ng EMU? Kung okay na po, ipapasa ko na po kayo sa next reporter. Thank you po.
Hello po, rinig po ako. Hello.
Yes
Rinig
po,
po.
rinig po.
So yun po. Ito po yung mga EMU na there's a list of example of EMU around the world. Yung una po yung Australian Oscar ASET. The word Oscar on this trade is stands for Outer Suburban Car. Na-release to noong December 2006 sa country ng Australia. Na may record siya 130 km per hour na speed. Operated siya na NSW Trainlink. So yung next point, German ICE3. Yung ICE3 po stands for Intercity Express 3. Operated siya na operated by Deutsche Bahn. Na-release siya no 1999 sa country ng Germany. Yung speed niya, designed to run up to 330 km per hour, but on trial run, it can run up to 368 km per hour. Sa regular service naman po ay 300 km per hour. Next po. Transport B series. Sa ano naman po ito sa Australia, na-release siya noong 2004. Yung sa linya na transport, ano po siya, division of the Public Transport Authority of Western Australia. Na ano siya, ginawa siya ng company ng Downer Rail. Yung speed niya ay umabot ng 160 km per hour. Pag sa regular service naman ay 130 km per hour. Sa Mumbai Suburban Railway Old, na-release siya noong April 16, 1853. Ito yung pinaka-oldest EMU ata na trend sa India. Yung average speed niya ay 30 km per hour. Pa-next po. Mumbai Suburban Railway New. Ito naman yung yung US Railway ngayon sa India. Na-release siya noong November 21, 2009. May speed siya 110 km per hour. Yung New Delhi Metro, hindi siya tawag sa tren na to. Ano siya, yung bus rapid transit system sa Delhi. Pero country niya India. Na-release yung gantong trend sa New Delhi no December 24, 2002. Average speed ng mga trend sa New Delhi Metro ay 132 km per hour. Pa-next one. Ay yung New Delhi Metro po pala, meron siya 336 na train. So yun po. Yung Belgian EMU AM80 or nickname niya ay Brake. Operated siya ng SNCB or the Belgian National Railway Company. Yung AM80, kaya siya may nickname na Brake kasi siya, para siya yung nag-change ng design, para yung nakasanay na design ng SNCB. Para na-change siya yung particular na design nun. Tapos nag-simulate siya ng paggamit ng ibang equipment ng SNCB. Simula na nabuo siya. So, yun, na-release siya noong 1992 sa country ng Belgium. Ang average speed niya ay 160 km per hour. Yung KRL, Jabotabek X Japanese Toei 6000 series. Yung trend na to ay, obviously, galing siya sa Japanese. Sa Japan. Sa noong May 2000, yung government ng Japan ay nag-donate na 72 units ng gamit na Toei 6000 series. Yung company na nag-lead dito ay Japan International Cooperation Agency saka Tokyo Metropolitan Government. Yung KRL stands for Kereta Rail District. Send ko na lang po sa chat kasi di ko nasama sa So yun po. Na-release siya no August 25, 2000. Sa country siya ng Indonesia. Ang average speed niya ay 90 km per hour. So yun, pa-text po. SWT class 450 Suburban. Yung trend na to ay yung speed niya dito, mali ito, ano siya eh. Yung 100 km per hour, ano dapat siya? 100 mile per hour, no, mali lang ako nasulat. Ang average speed niya ay 161 km per hour. Yung SWT sa name niya ay stands for Southwest Trade. Yan, na-release siya na 2003 sa United Kingdom. Yung TSR double decker. Yung TSR sa name niya ay stands for Treno Servizio Regionale. Send ko na lang rin sa chat for baka kailangan. Ayan. Na-release siya noong 2000 sa country ng Italy. Ang average speed niya ay 140 km per hour. So, ipatext po. Next ay Russian ED4 MKM Aero. Yung ED4 stands for Electric Train Demicov. Mahirap kasi send ko na lang ulit. Kasi Russian yung sulat. Ito po yung ano. Yung ED4 Aero. ED4 stands for it's a series of Russian electric train set. Yan, na-release siya noong 2009 sa country ng Russia. Average speed niya ay 130 km per hour. Yung next na naman ay Russian ER2K. Release date niya ay 1962 sa country rin ng Russia. 130 km per hour nito. So, next mo. Yung Swedish Railway, EMU. Yung Swedish Railway, hindi siya yung tawag sa tren na to. Tawag siya sa railway system sa Swedish. Yung tren na to, ang pangalan niya ay SJX40. Send ko na lang ako sa chat. SJX40. Manufactured siya ng Alstom company. Release date siya ay 2006 sa country ng Sweden. Average speed ay 200 km per hour. Lard Rod Ariel 8520 class. Ano to eh? I to ano sa Lard Rod. Ayan. Sa yung L. So, other term niya ay Irish Rail. The operator of the National Railway Network in Ireland. Release date niya ay September 17, 2014 sa Ireland. 110 km per hour is yung average speed niya. So, next one. Japanese JR is type E233-1000. Yung JR stands for East Japan Railway Company, which is the major passenger railway company in Japan, and it's the largest of the 7 Japan Railway Groups company. So yung etong type ng tren na to ay na-release siya no December 22, 2007 sa country ng Japan. Ang average speed niya ay 120 km per hour. Yung next ko naman ay Japan JR West Shinkansen Type 500. So, yung JR West obviously stands for West Japan Railway Company. One of the Japan Railway Group companies and operate in Western Honshu. So, release date niya ay March 1, 1997 sa country ng Japan. Design yung ano na to, trend na to, tatumakbo lang 320 km. Pero sa regular service ay 300 km per hour yung speed niya. So, text ko. Chinese CRH3. Yung sa name na ito na trend na to ay yung CRH stands for China Railway High Speed. So, release date niya ay August 1, 2008 sa country ng China. Yung maximum ay capable service speed niya ay 380 km per hour. So yung next naman ay Polish PESA ED59. Yung ED59 ay series siya ng train sa Polish State Railway. Release date niya ay May 2006 sa country ng Poland. Average speed niya ay 140 km per hour. So yung next one. Okay, next po ay Polish 14WE. Release date niya ay 2005 sa country ng Poland. Average speed niya ay 110 km per hour. The next naman ay Polish 19WE. Release date niya ay 2008 sa country ng Poland. Speed niya ay 130 km per hour. O next po. So yung UZ2500, operated siya na SLCF. Release date niya ay 1988 sa country ng France. Average speed ay 140 km per hour. So yung last one po ay Swiss Standard Flirt RABE 523. Yung word the flirt ay stands for yung word the flirt ay isa siyang type ng train sa Switzerland. Yung flirt ay stands for fast, light, intercity, and regional train. Sasend ko na lang po rin po rin. Chat. Yan po. Sa ngayon po, pero po 510 na flirt trains sa Switzerland. So yung release date ng train na to ay 2004 sa country ng Switzerland. Average speed niya ay 200 km per hour. Yun lamang po. Thank you.
May pag-games po kami. Si Den po ang mag-ho.
Bea, wait lang, may question daw si Carly.
Oh, double deck. Ay, yung double deck. Alam mo yung mga bus dyan sa sumagot na agad. Pero yun yung double deck, parang katulad lang siya ng mga bus sa EDSA na double, ay tama sa EDSA. Yung mga point to point. Di ba may hagdan yun sa loob? So, same pa rin siya ng ang machinery niya, I mean yung mechanical parts niya. Pero pagkakaiba nun, depende sa car body design na kung saan ipapwesto. Dahil diba sinabi ko rin kanina na binabaan nila yung car yung mismong paglalagyan ng mga passengers. Tapos, pwede ka lang umakit sa taas. Maganda siya sa intercity travels dahil yung sa ibang bansa, sa Europe lalo na, makikita mo yung mismong scenery. Ayun, yun lang. May questions pa po ba? Mukhang wala na. Ikaw na din. Go din.
So ayun po, yung pa-icebreaker po namin is yung unjumble the letters. Paunahan lang po kayong magsagot. Tapos kami na po bahala kung kung ilan yung ibibigay namin sa inyo. Next po. Yan po yung first question. Self-propelled train made up of one or more railroad units connected together. So, ang answer po is multiple unit. Check na lang po ng mga kagrupo ko kung sino yung naunang sumagot. Thank you. Next. Yan. Yung next po na question is, it allows a greater number of powered wheel sets, so there are fewer wheel slip problems and the unit trains can accelerate better. Next po ay pa-reveal po ng answer. Yan. Distributed traction po yung sagot. Haha.
Wala pong tumama, wala pa.
Wala pong tumama sa inyo ha. O, next na po ha. Ang bilis naman. Next po. Yan, kahit wala naman pong question, kaya nyo na po sagutin. Yan, electrification. Next po. First EMUs in Britain. Ayan, pasagot. Okay na po. Pa-reveal po ng sagot. Yan. Liverpool Overhead Railway. Next po. Yan. India's EMU that has an average speed of 30 kilometers per hour.
Kumukota na si Jello. Patumba na yan.
Pa-reveal po ng answer. Yan, Mumbai Suburban Railway Old. Next po. Yung mga kagrupo ko, pa-monitor ko sino yung nauunang sumagot
Okay na po. 5 lang po ang offer namin today. So, nanalong 3 beses si Jello. Tapos si Lucenio yung isa.
Yun po. Makikipag-coordinate na lang po kami sa mga nakapagsagot. Maraming salamat.
Thank you po.